feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right. Greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen, here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. JB and Darren. You can follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Doeren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare text and chat lines are open, 843-321-8893. If you'd like to text it, if you're on the road, if you're at lunch, if you got something going on and you can't get into one of the chat rooms that are available pretty much on every platform we're available on, just pop us a note and Darren will pop it into the show and put it right here on the screen. If you're listening, you can't see it, but you'll hear it. There's no doubt about that. Make sure you have downloaded the JB and Goldwater app, and you can always head to jbandgoldwatershow.com as well. Football weather, indeed. The chat lines are filling up with the weather. Yes, we walked out finally this morning and felt mid-60s throughout the state of South Carolina or lower, and the next couple of days are going to absolutely be gorgeous. That includes Columbia, South Carolina, the home of the Gamecocks, where they'll welcome Kentucky to town at 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. More on that game ahead in just a few minutes with David Cloninger of the Post and Courier. He'll stop in at 12:10. We've got David Shelton also with the Post and Courier at 1:05 this afternoon. The high school slate to be played this weekend in the Lowcountry, and then some of the more meaningful games throughout the state. We'll get to those. There's also a very lengthy and talented group of young men who will be either officially or unofficially visiting South Carolina this weekend. And I'm going to ask David about some of those guys that he has seen play. I know one of them that hasn't made it onto some of the lists that are available out there via Gamecock Central in the Big Spur just yet is Somerville kicker Gage Lewis. No, he's not one of the 4 or 5 stars that's going to be on campus, but if anybody follows me on Twitter and sees the video I tweeted out this morning, he's clearing 50 and 60 yards with plenty of room on the other side of the goalpost, Darren. It's been impressive. Then Scott Glaze on the final, his final Ryder Cup preview today at 1:35. So it's a full boat. We'll get to some of the Dave Doeren, Dabo Sweeney beef. We've got football tonight. We got the college football playoff, whatever the hell's going on there. So it's another full show.
I don't make it a habit of retweeting or subtweeting high school kids, high school student athletes, but I did earlier today because I saw Iman Smalls is going to be making the trip up there. So he's one of the prospects that will be at Williams-Brice Stadium. He's a defensive tackle for Beaufort. I just saw him play 6 days ago. He is massive. He's 300 something. He's 6 foot something, and he is a big problem. According to his coach, Will Muschamp offered him as a freshman. The new staff has regularly been in touch, as has Georgia's staff, but neither has offered. Coastal Carolina did just offer him. And if you want to see Gage Lewis, you can do that tomorrow night as well, because Somerville and Goose Creek is the high school television game tomorrow night. So if you want a sense of those, there's that for you.
There you go. I've got some some video I can provide you of some of his kicks if you'd like me for the broadcast. Do you need that?
I saw what you put out there today.
I have some more. I have a source. I have a source.
Well, good. Yeah, shoot them my way.
So it's Iman. How do you say that?
Iman. So like
Iman. Okay.
Little E's, then capital Mahn if you want to phonetically. Iman.
Iman Smalls, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not
right.
small.
Not. No, not small, but
not
Smalls.
Small. Yes.
Yeah. Big Smalls.
Big. Very big.
Big Iman Smalls.
Yeah, there was one play last Friday where he just like swallowed up whoever the running back was. I mean, and just it looked like it hurt. I mean, it looked like the running back was going to be pushed through the ground into China. I mean, it looked like it hurt.
Big Iman Smalls.
Yeah.
Tonight you've got the Panthers and the Texans in the NFL at 8:00 on the NFL Network, and you got an interesting college game on ESPN as well. Marshall is at App State. I bet you the weather up there at Kidd Brewer Stadium is nice in Boone, North Carolina. So you got some pretty decent football to check out. You know, Panthers, of course, if you're here in the state of South Carolina and you're a Panthers fan, there you go. Deshaun Watson won't be playing in that game, but the Panthers will be. So we'll certainly check that out. So we got Cloninger coming up here in just a few minutes. And we'll try to probably come back to this here in a little while. But so you do have the NC State Clemson game this weekend. And you've got they haven't played since 2019. They didn't play last year. So just a year off. Clemson has just owned this series since the turn of the century. I think they're 17-3 in the last 20 meetings or something like that. And most of those games have not been close, although 2016 and 2017 were touchdown games in favor of the Tigers. But back in 2017 is when this beef kind of started happening between Dave Doeren and Dabo Sweeney. And if anybody's listened to J.C. Sherbert on my show, he's not a Dave Doeren fan. He's not a Clemson fan either. But I think he actually would defend Clemson in a lot of this because it was just kind of manufactured garbage from the NC State side. If you go back to 2017, when Bradley Chubb took Kelly Bryant's towel, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and the third time literally went out of his way to walk back over and swipe it. And, you know, the officials kind of got in the middle of it, and they stopped it, and Clemson won the game. And then Doeren, after the game, said he wanted Clemson investigated for a laptop on the sidelines. Turns out that laptop was a social media intern. Tim Beret confirmed that after the ball game. And, you know, and then from there, it was kind of on between these two. They had more problems down the road. Dabo kind of had some fun with it. They had a play call with a laptop up on the you know, the boards that they'll flash on the sideline when they put play calls in and things like that. What am I missing, Darren? Something else happened.
It's been consistent, just back and forth over the years. I mean, to the point where I didn't realize all of the back and forth really until Josh Graham, who I'm putting out there right now because we're using some of his stuff, until he put it out there yesterday. I mean, I just was glossing over this game. This makes me think that this could be one of those games where Clemson says, you know what, all of our issues, we're going to throw them out the window and we're going to go try and win by 70 if we can.
Yeah, certainly. It was the Skowski kick. Remember, they were up 55-10 on NC State, and they sent James Skowski in to kick the extra point?
Yes.
I mean, that was like the ultimate low blow. So, in theory, and again, we got to get to Cloninger here in just a minute, you're right. But NC State actually will pose some defensive challenges for a struggling Clemson offense this weekend. Yeah. And they held Mississippi State under 300 yards passing, and that might sound like not a big deal, but when you got a Mike Leach offense that tosses it around the yard, it's a big deal. You know, and that game's in Raleigh. I don't think this game's going to be a blowout. I know the Tigers are 10-point favorites, and I don't even know if they cover that. I think they're the better football team. There's no doubt about it. But just some of the issues that they've had are going to kind of play into the hands of the Wolfpack. So we'll get to more of that. But that is an interesting little side nugget in college football this weekend for those that maybe aren't necessarily paying close attention to that ball game. You might ought to. By the way, there's also a report that this summer at the ACC kickoff, Dave Doeren and Dabo Sweeney just happened to have to share an elevator And on the way down in that elevator, not a word was spoken in the whole thing by anybody. And there's a few more people standing in there as well. So not how you doing, nothing. Nobody said a word. So that should probably tell you where those two guys stand and what they think of each other. I know what we think of David Cloninger with the Post and Courier. He's excellent. He's hardworking. He generally gets the first question. I'm not going to go as far to say as he's good looking, but he's definitely a great guy, and we're glad to have him. What's up, man?
Well, not too much, man, and that's why I'm talking to you on the radio instead of being on the football fine bomb show. You got a face made for radio. That's just the way it is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, leave that fine bomb crap to Gene.
To be as pretty as you know.
Well, that's very
It's
true.
hard. It's hard, David. You're right. It's hard.
So do you think
like the Post and Courier keeps insisting on putting my face out in public on all this stuff? I'm like, guys, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, people are going to see that and crash their cars. But, hey, man, they'll get the idea eventually.
That's right. So let me ask you this. You're the insider. You know everything. With Feinbaum coming to town, I don't know if he'll get there later tonight or tomorrow. Either way, he's going to be broadcasting live from the Horseshoe tomorrow afternoon. Do you think he's going to reserve a seat for Sapikoff to just come up and maybe co-host this sucker with him?
Well, it'll either be him or Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, there's still some people up where I'm from that ain't forgot what old Paul had to say about JD back in the day. But I assume when he gets in town, it's just going to depend on the air currents. Flying in with those ears of his. Well, that's a whole other topic. My main thing about it, hey, SEC now being on the Horseshoe, that's always great. You always want to show off your school. My main thing is if any South Carolina fan or really whoever is going to this event on Saturday or tomorrow afternoon, whenever it starts, if you see or hear of Kenny Chesney coming around, do whatever it takes to keep him off the Horseshoe. Because you notice ain't nothing gone right since that guy showed up.
That's true.
I won. So I'm just saying, if you see him come around, make sure that he don't set one foot on one blade of grass out there.
Well, I'm trying to. I got to pull this up. You probably know it off the top of your head. I'm looking for the release that they sent yesterday, David. But I believe that this is the fifth appearance by SEC Nation in Columbia. Is that true?
That's it, because the other four were at Gamecock Park over there across from the stadium, so they could get that in the background.
And let's see here. Yeah, that's not a good sign, David, and here's why. First one, A&M in 2014, blowout. Second one, the Citadel in 2015. I don't need to remind people about that. The third one, 2017, Clemson, loss. And 2018, Georgia, loss. So 0-4 when SEC Nation is in Columbia.
Well, hey, man, I mean, they can just go ahead and double down on the jinx by having them wear all black under the lights on Saturday night. I don't think that's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. Because while it's silly to suggest here that a uniform has anything to do with how the team plays, I mean, one, look at the numbers, and two, you're talking to the same guy who wore one baseball cap for 15 years. You know why? Because the team it represented won 1,500 games, 14 division titles, 5 National League pennants, and 1, by God, World Championship. All while I was wearing it. You tell me who's wrong. So I'm just saying, just be real careful. If you're thinking, man, an all-black uniform would look really nice in a night game, yeah, it would until the game starts. I'm just going by past history.
I think Carolina's won one game ever in all black, and if I recall, that was the 2016 game against Tennessee, Coach Muschamp's first year, right?
Honestly, man, I quit keeping track because the uniforms the past few years have, been so muddled. But it was usually the case that any time they wore any kind of black uniform, jersey, pants, or helmet, they lost. It was a while there. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm not going to keep track of it because, there were so many different uniform combinations the past few years. But Shane Beamer is keeping the uniform a secret this week. I don't think it's going to be anything incendiary, but I'm just hoping that he knows the history just like I do. Saying, look, man, if you want to give yourself the best possible chance to win, stay away from the black uniforms.
Yeah, and all the gimmicky Under Armour stuff they used to send in that Carolina would lose in as well, or you couldn't see the numbers on it.
Well, I'll have to talk about that in the paper next week as part of my 2011 series. Got a great quote from the ball coach on that.
That was the Auburn game that they lost, that Garcia threw an out route about 10 rows into the bleachers.
No, he did quite a few of those that season, if you recall.
Well, yeah, that one stands out. So, all right. Well, we're going to get to the actual football game here in just a second, David. And then I do want to ask you about Coach Kingston before you head out this afternoon, because I know that you just got done speaking with him probably just a few minutes ago, and his I think first press conference of the fall. Some interesting stuff there from Mark as well. But let's talk about this from the outside looking in real quick. This weekend for Carolina football, this is a big deal. It's week 4 of the Shane Beamer era. Yeah, they got their rear ends kicked last week in Georgia, expected by the large majority of people, I would say, if not all. But they are 2-1, and this starts a streak of 4 games where South Carolina can win all of them. They can also probably lose all of them. That's how important and how thin this line is here that they're about to cross over at 7:00 Saturday night. All that being said, there is a laundry list of talent coming to Williams-Brice Stadium to maybe look at their futures playing football in Columbia. It's almost a sellout, not quite yet, but it might be by 7:00 Saturday night. People are excited. SEC Nation is in town. So kind of describe what you've been seeing this week and what this moment could mean one way or another for the future of Gamecock football, at least pertaining to this season.
Well, in terms of the future, Jamie, you always want to have these big-time crowds when you have a big group of recruits in. So from that standpoint, you've got a lot going for you just from the surface. One, it's a night game, and that's always going to be more well-attended and more, energetic than perhaps, say, a noon game, just because people are going to be able to take some time to tailgate, to hang out, to get excited, to, let's be honest, to drink. And they'll be, very energetic, very loud and boisterous once they get into the stadium. And hopefully, with the way the team plays, you can encourage that throughout the whole game. I still remember in 2005, 6, 7, they all kind of run together, but they played Auburn at home and lost on the Jared Cook should have called and
yeah.
didn't. But Steve Spurrier came in afterwards and said, he didn't want to hear about moral victories, but he did say, I just want to thank the crowd because, as you all know, we got a commitment tonight. It ended up being Cliff Matthews, although he couldn't say it at the time. And he said it was all because of the crowd. So that's the kind of thing that can really help you with the future. I mean, going to be a lot of kids here. And, just like the early recruiting class that Shane Beamer already has, it's up there in the top 20 rankings and all that. And even with my standing line of, hey, verbal commitment ain't worth the paper it's not written on, that could happen. But the more guys you get talking about the program, the more they say, man, I had a great time in South Carolina, the more they're going to talk to their buddies. And then those buddies are going to talk to their buddies. So that's the kind of opportunity you have for the future of this program. That's the kind of thing that the crowd can really help. As for the game, that's going to impact the immediate future. Now, most people looked at this season come in and said, they just don't have the horses. The schedule's too tough. The roster's too thin. 4-8, 5-7 on a good day. I've said this too, but I always left myself this caveat. It's the first 4 games. If you somehow go 3-1 in those first 4, there's a definite path toward a bowl game. And a bowl game would be a huge accomplishment for this team. So you get this one Saturday night, you're 3-1. And you've got Troy, Tennessee, and Vandy still left on the schedule. And those last 5, they're probably not going to be favored in any of them, but you could mess around and beat Auburn at home. It happened last year, right? You never know what's going to happen, but the point is you could be 6-1 after week 7. Could be, but you got to win this Saturday. So this one's big. If they don't get it, it's like, well, there's still a chance that they could find their 6 and get to a bowl game, but it's not looking real good right now. And if they do, it's like, okay, everything's right there in front of you, and now's the chance where you can really put the hammer down and say, hey, do you want to help us get to the next step? That's why you need to come here. That's what you can tell recruits. So, yeah, big game, big crowd, and you couldn't ask for much more than an SEC night game.
On Twitter at DCPNC, David Cloninger, Post and Courier. How about the job that Shane Beamer has done this week to literally turn the page in a hurry? It started Sunday and all week long. It's, the Georgia questions, which we're going to get to some of those in a minute, are certainly there with what was maybe exposed even more so, some of the issues with this team early on. But he has been totally focused on energy in this week's game. You know, how do you view that from a head coach and his constant pleas to the fan base to help the football team?
Well, I mean, that's what he's got to do. Shane Beamer has been selling this program since the day he got hired, because what else could he do? You're not going to talk about the past. I mean, and you're not going to talk about the future. You don't really want to talk about the present, except to say, hey, everything's going to be okay. I mean, that's what you have to say just to get some excitement and enthusiasm back in the program, because as you guys know, these past 2 years, it's just been this dead feeling around. Just nobody's really wanted to say anything, you know, because things have been going so bad. So that's what he had to do. Of course, you're not going to dwell on loss. No coach ever would. But it's a case of like saying, hey, you know, they got their tails kicked, and deservedly, and Georgia's really good. And I don't think Shane's saying like, oh, well, you know, South Carolina didn't have a chance and that's what they played like. But what he is saying is like, listen, it's not that the world is ending, because Georgia is really good. But yes, there's some problems and they're going to get corrected. So now you got to go do it, because obviously we've heard it a lot around here recently. Hey, we'll get it fixed. And how many times did it actually get fixed? So you look at last week, and most people expected to blow out. That's not the problem. Most people expected the Gamecocks to fight hard to the end, which they did. That's not a problem. The problem is specifically with the offense. And you're saying, what's going on down there? Because if they'd have played decent on offense the first 2 games and then got their butts kicked between their ears last week, hey, that's Georgia. They're real good.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's not what happened. They played pretty lousy on offense 3 weeks in a row. They've done enough to get by in the first 2, and they didn't do it last week. So what's the problem, and how's it going to get fixed? And the most popular answer and excuse I've heard this week has been, it's all miscommunication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a pretty broad term, and not one that I'm digesting that easily, especially when I'm hearing more of the particulars, such as, well, the quarterback and the center each have the ability to change the play call at the line, and one has the authority to override the other. To which I said, okay, what?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
So that's got to get fixed, and it's got to get fixed quickly, because, frankly, guys, there's only one thing that changed from last year's offense that had 4 starters returning on the line, that cleared an 1,100-yard rusher that led the conference against all SEC opponents in 10 games. And the only thing that changed was the coaches and the schemes.
Mm-hmm.
So something's wrong there. And it's 3 games, saying sometimes you got to find your way into it. There is a discount saying, well, Marcus Satterfield thought he would have Luke Doty as the starting QB. That didn't happen. He thought he'd have Kevin Harris. That didn't happen. How much did that affect? Because both those guys are here. Both those guys are going to start this week. Okay, fine. That's cool. Let's go out and see how much has changed, because you cannot have what this offense has looked like these past 3 weeks for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree, because you're trying to hit on the nuts and bolts of the issue, and I think that's what's important here, because we've all heard the same things, David. Communication, and to tie all this into something you said a minute ago about the immediate future of the program and energy and stuff like that. The best way to build energy is win games, and I know that Will in the last couple of years had a couple of major wins under his belt. Obviously, Georgia and Auburn at Williams-Brice last year, but those just felt like wins. They didn't necessarily feel like program builders because of what had preceded him in his tenure as head coach. This could feel like a program builder, but in order to get a program builder, you got to feel like you're getting better week to week. And I think, to your comments, people at least on the offensive side don't necessarily feel that. The question I have is, and I'm not an OC, so I don't know the answer to this. I'm literally asking the question is, okay, if your quarterback and your center can both change plays, or they can make whatever adjustments they need to make, and one can override the other, why not just have one doing that? And if you don't trust either one of them, then why not just come down from the box and call the plays from the sideline? Has anybody asked that question?
Nobody's asked specifically that. I was going to, and we ran out of time yesterday. But the main thing is like, listen, I'm not trying to be rude here, but I know that you have this big NFL playbook and big NFL mind, and you're marrying concepts from Oklahoma and all the other places you've been. I don't want to use the term dumb it down because that's not the right term. But do you need to simplify this? Is it too complicated? No. We're good. We're fine. And as he said, I think that you don't want this kind of thing to happen where you get exposed, but it did, and it all did at once. I'm like, well, I don't really agree with that either, because to me it's been happening for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, fine. You're the OC. You get paid a lot more money to do it. That's your job. So, but now it's a case of like, okay, fine. But now it's week 4 in a game that you're not favored to win, but you could win. Mm-hmm. I think this is a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
And it's going to really hinge on how this season's success is. It's got to happen, because I hate to tell you, you're not going to get a defensive touchdown every game. And the defense has been playing pretty well. I know that they had some really glaring busts last week, but a lot of that was, you know what, Georgia's O-line is really good. And whoever quarterback you got back there, you give him all day to throw, he's going to find a receiver. They couldn't get any pressure on JT Daniels.
Right.
Not a bit. And that's all because of Georgia's offensive line. So I'm saying, that's fine, cool. So now you need to fix it here. You got to find a way to keep these guys off of Doty, and you got to find a way to get that running game on track. Because as much of a surprise as Josh Vann has been to this receiver, and he is playing terrific football.
Yeah.
You got to have more than that. You got to be able to run the ball. That's your strength. And right now it's not a strength at all. And again, looking back at last year, it was, and there's only been a couple things that's changed. So, again, if there's one glaring problem, I don't see it. Other than that, this offense is bad and it's got to get fixed.
All right,
so they're the technical guys, they're the coaches, they get paid to do it. Go fix it.
All right, so I want to make sure that I'm being fair to the conversation as well, DC. I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying I want to make sure that I am. Now Luke Doty's the starter. Hopefully he continues to stay healthy. But they were essentially, from what I was understanding, building the offense around the personnel, which was their presumptive starter throughout the year leading up to the season, Luke Doty. So he's back. So is it fair to say, in your estimation or in your opinion, that yes, there's a lot of problems we've seen from week to week, communication, 2 guys run blocking, 3 guys pass blocking. Boy, that was fun. Things like that. But is it fair to say that now that Luke is in there, and maybe with his capabilities as a playmaker, that this week might be the most indicative information or the best information we can get about this offensive scheme? Not Eastern Illinois. They weren't any good. Week 2, Zeb Nolan on the road at East Carolina. Pretty good judge, but not the best. You got Georgia, certainly not the best for this team. And now you got a Kentucky team that, you might compare decently to. So is this a more favorable matchup to get an honest opinion of where we are offensively?
I think it's definitely more favorable. Whether it'll be the best one remains to be seen, because I haven't really looked at the other teams they're going to play and specifically what they have on the defensive front.
Yeah.
Kentucky's given up some points this year.
Yeah.
Their offense is really good, but their defense, you can score on that defense. So it is going to be a case of saying, if you can't open up holes against these guys, and you couldn't really do it against Eastern Illinois until late, you couldn't do it against East Carolina until the 4th.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Right.
So I think that will play into it, but it's not nearly as simple as saying, oh, well, Doty and Harris are back, so problem solved.
Yeah.
You still don't know how comfortable Doty is on that foot. Now, he's playing great. He's 100% fine from a health-wise, but you just don't know if he's got that full mental state that he had before the injury. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It would be like he's not favoring it. He's not thinking about it, but you still just don't know, because we weren't out there for all the practices in spring and preseason and all that, seeing how effective he was. So you do have to look at that and say, how much are you going to depend on him from a designed basis? And I'll say right from the start, remember the first play last week? Zeb Nolan designed run. I thought, okay. Yeah, all right. Because you know that guy's not supposed to do that. And just giving Georgia a little something extra to think about. I'm like, that's a really good play call. I like that. Throw them something they're not expecting. And, of course, then it didn't matter going afterwards. But I'm like, okay, how much design stuff do you want Luke to run? Not because you're putting him in any danger, because that's what can help this offense win, and because that was a big part of how he designed this playbook. Yeah. And how much are you going to say, well, if this line's not any better, you're going to know pretty quick. Because every time he takes a 5-step drop and he's got 2 guys in his face, like, uh-oh. I don't think he's going to be able to run out of that. So it will be a case of you guys know best because you see it every single play in practice. Is he what he was before the foot sprain? Because if he is, there's your playbook. And, again, we haven't really seen that either because there were so many guys injured in spring. But just say, if that's your plan, go put it out. And we'll see if it works. And, again, I mean, I do have the benefit of the doubt that's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still there. Hey, he didn't have his QB the first 3 games until an emergency situation. He didn't have Kevin Harris at full strength. And that was going to be a big part of the book. So you do have those guys now. So let's see how it goes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this whole running back rotation. Well, you got to make sure you feed the guy that's hot. You don't want a guy going in 2 plays and then 3 plays and then sitting. I'm like, look, there's no way that you can do that and be consistent.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So because somebody's feelings are going to have to get hurt here.
Yep.
You got to find your 2 best guys and put them out there. Year 1, year 2. You get 30 carries, you get 15. I do not like that rotation thing because it's such a judgment call. Obviously, Juju McDowell has earned the right to be out there. Well, he don't have to be out there at running back. Put him out at slot receiver.
Sure.
Just do something. Get him on the field. But, again, those guys get paid a lot of money to do that. And as soon as I saw the talent in that running back room and how Zaquandre White lit up the spring game, I thought this is going to be a problem in the season.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way that you can get all those guys equal carries and get them happy and consistently pick the right guy for the right time. To me, it's just you got to let that guy go in there and get lathered up and get ready because that's when you're going to break loose. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's spot on. And it's I hope people understand what you're saying. It's a great problem to have. You have too many guys that you feel good about. But then it leads into that conversation of, I mean, to summarize this is a pretty simple summary here, David. Last year, with the exception of probably 2 games, the Ole Miss game and maybe the Vandy game, maybe even the Kentucky game, maybe 3. It doesn't matter. Kevin Harris got better and better and better as games went on. The more he got hit, the better he was. And you'd look at the end of the game to have 120, 150, 100, whatever it was, yards. So, he's already proven it. I mean, that's a guy that I think people should be looking to. I get it. White's good. Marshawn Lloyd, his future is so bright. You need sunglasses. Juju has absolutely proven he's got some incredible ability. But Kevin Harris, if he's available and healthy, which it seems he is, I just don't see how he's not your guy.
It has to be that way, Jamie. I mean, and he's obviously earned it. It's why that nobody was really concerned when they said, oh, yeah, he had all-season back surgery and he's probably going to miss most of the preseason. I'm like, well, that sounds concerning.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I mean, he's earned it. He's fine. I'm like, okay, cool. But, yeah, it is a case of, all right, well, you can't just keep slamming your head against the wall and thinking it's going to be a different result than a splitting headache. But with a running back and, being in the first quarter, sometimes it's not going to break right away. I mean, we all know that. You do sometimes have to keep, hammering until you get a little bit of an edge. So, fine. Who are you going to do that with? And do you have the courage after things have not been going so well to keep doing it? Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to pop. It's going to pop eventually. And, I'll look at last week and say, well, probably nothing was going to help. 2 weeks ago, I'll say, you know what? I think you kind of had to abandon the run early because you were down 14-0. You were about to be down at least 17-0 until Damani picked off that pass and took it to the house.
Right.
So you do have to realize the situation's always going to dictate things and say, look, if you're down 2 or 3 scores, man, in a game that you really need to win, you can't afford to keep trying to run. You got to get equal right, or you got to get even right then. Yeah. So that does play a part. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to switch places with Marcus Satterfield right now, even if he were to take my salary and I were to take his. It'd just be like, look, you got way too many problems. All I got to do is sit up there and be like, boy, that wasn't smart, or boy, that was cool. It's a lot going on, and I know that that's a heavy burden, but it's a burden that he signed up for. And it's like, look, man, you just got to realize no matter what you do, you're either going to get the praise or get the blame.
Yeah.
And right now there's not a whole lot of praise going around.
No. Well, there is on the defensive side of the football. They've been pretty good, and they're going to have to be really good on Saturday night, David. I think any way you slice this, the way that I'm looking at it now is this is probably going to be a pretty close game. And in the fourth quarter, somebody's going to have to make a play or two to win, and defensively might be where that is. All that being said, I don't know that this has gotten enough pub this week, but that Sherrod Green injury, that's a humdinger. He's been around a while. He knows what he's doing out there. He's really smart. He's played the best football of his career, and now he's down. What type of when you look at this defense now starting this weekend with Kentucky and somebody, probably Damani Staley, having to go in there and fill his spot or whomever it may be, how significant of an impact was that injury to this defense, at least initially?
Oh, it's major, Jamie, and it's you knew it was bad as soon as it happened with how he reacted, how he immediately threw off his helmet and chucked it. And it was like, oh, mercy. I mean, you never want to see a kid get hurt, but when you know right away that it's bad. And, yes, there's a chance he could come back, if this season goes a little longer past November. But right now, and I'm not sure how all the COVID stuff, the red shirt or whatever works. I mean, maybe there's a possibility he could come out next year, but he was playing really well. He's a guy that's played a lot of games. He was a guy calling a lot of signals. And especially for a guy that fractured his hip in the first game of last year and had to miss that whole season. You're like, oh, no, not the second play of the third game. Come on. But It happened. And you just got to move on. I mean, Sherrod's back there in the building, and he's encouraging people and doing what he can, but he can't go play. So it is up to Damani Staley, who's been playing well. It's up to Mo Kaba, who's played well in the limited action that he has had. And it's up to Dabo Williams, who, was a freshman of the week in the first game, really haven't been seen since. So all those guys just going to have to step up and play because, the guy beside him, Brad Johnson, has been playing very well. And it's like, listen, those two linebackers got a lot of responsibility because there's only two in this scheme. You're just going to have to go make it work. Injuries are part of the game. It's a tough one. You're going to miss that guy, but you can't play the whole season and say, well, if we only had Sherrod, because you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, we've seen this every year, Jamie. I mean, looking back 10 years ago, I don't know if anybody thought the USC would do what it ended up doing at Mississippi State that day when they knew Marcus was gone for the season.
Yep.
And like, oh, gee, it's over. It's over. And sometimes it works out that way. So just going to have to go try to replace him and try to do what you can. And this defense has played very well. I just wrapped up a story for tomorrow's paper. In fact, that I don't know if I remember the last time a USC defense had multiple takeaways in 3 straight games. I mean, it's been a while. And if it has happened before, then I would assume Antonio Allen was right in the middle of it. That guy was the best ball hawk I ever saw.
Yeah, he was.
But, it's been a while since that happens. Man, these guys are getting their hands on some footballs. And that's exactly the kind of confidence booster, jolt of energy that you need. And it didn't end up mattering in the long run. But Jalen Foster's first pick last week, that came at a huge time. Yeah. So just got to hope that those keep coming your way and keep trying to get them.
Yeah, they got another challenge this weekend. Kentucky's really good up front. 2 horses that will tote the rock. The Robinson kid at wide receiver is really good. Will Levis has had a great start to the year, actually, at quarterback. All that being said, this will be the best defense that they've seen. That includes Missouri. So certainly looking forward to more than likely a lower scoring, probably classic style Kentucky Carolina game at Williams-Brice. Hey man, before I let you run, I know that you got to speak with Coach Kingston this morning. I think they're set to scrimmage tomorrow around 3:30, which is open to the public at Founders Park. It'll be the only scrimmage of the weekend. They're not scrimmaging on Saturday. But what did you learn? There are a lot of new faces over there. I know Bosnick and Sanders aren't throwing this fall. That's been pretty public. But what else did you learn?
Well, of course, we had to start with some injuries. And Jackson Phipps, who pitched a little bit last year, has to have Tommy John, so he's going to be out for the season.
Oh, geez.
But Jack Mahoney, who was the midweek starter last year, and then he went down in May, he had to get Tommy John. He will not pitch this season, but he will be available to play in the field. They recruited him as a two-way player, pitcher and an infielder, pretty good bat, so he can play in the infield and still swing a bat. He just can't pitch. So you hate to start out, with a couple of guys down, but with the majority of this recruiting class, and, they do have 4 D1 transfers on it, a lot of those guys are going to have to play and play well right away. Mm-hmm. So I can't sit here and say, oh, man, they're going to be lucky to get the postseason, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Omaha bounds. I don't know. I honestly do not know, just because there's so many new guys at so many new positions and saying they're going to have to play well right away. You never know how that's going to be. So it's going to be tough. We all saw the SEC schedule that was released. Yeah. We all know that they're going to have to play Clemson in a non-conference, and they're going to have to play Texas at home in a non-conference. And you figure the other two will probably be, what they've been in the past, your Delaware States or your Northwesterns or whoever, but that don't mean they're going to be easy. So it's just, you go out to fall, and this is where you find out who your guys are, who the guys you can depend on, and say, well, this is a thing that will continue for the first 3, 4, 5 weeks of next season. But now is when you really start to get to working and say, okay, here's who you got. And one good thing that they do have, Jamie, Julian Bosnick and Will Sanders as your 1 and 2 starters for next season. That's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, those guys don't have to pitch this fall. I don't want to see them pitch this fall. I'm like, you save your innings for when they're going to need them. And that's when they're going to need them next season. Yep. So you got 2 starting pitchers right away, and that's a great thing to have. But because of COVID the way it was, because of shortening the draft, USC got a lot of players back last year that they didn't expect to have. And that's terrific when you have it. But you also know that once the season's over, it's like, ooh, now you've lost twice as many guys as you expected to lose.
Yeah.
So that's why there was such the emphasis on finding some D1 transfers. And that's why they found guys at Missouri and App State and Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. And they've added in some really good recruits. I understand this Cole Messina from Summerville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some kind of whiz-bang ball player.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see him once I get out there tomorrow.
Yeah, he can hit it a country mile. I know that. The transfer portal has certainly changed things in baseball. Final quick one here. What do you have to say about Scott Wingo?
Love that kid. Very, very glad to see him back around the program. Nobody ever says a bad word about Scott Wingo because that kid represents everything South Carolina baseball is. Everything about it. And that is always good to have him because they can show the pictures on the wall and the murals, and there's Scott right in the middle of all of them and saying that's what you can be. So to have that guy back, not only as an ambassador for the program, but as an instructor to help with batting, to help with fielding, to help with just what it means to put on that uniform every day, that is a great thing to have. So looking forward to seeing on number 8 back on the field. He was a joy to cover when he was here. We've remained friends since, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact he can have on this team.
Great kid. He's a great kid. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, David, and I don't know that they could have picked anybody who'd be more excited for that role than Scott Wingo. Just an awesome dude. Awesome dude. So happy for him. Looking forward to the coverage throughout the weekend and into next week. We're always looking forward to your coverage of Gamecock athletics. You got a lot on your plate. Hoops will be here before long, so get your sleep.
Well, that's the one thing, Jamie. I haven't said it yet, but I always have it stored for football season. if you see the tweet or the remark in the takeaway that said, "Oh, by the way, Dawn Staley's probably number 1 ranked women's basketball team starts practice in a week," that's when you know that football's pretty much done.
Oh.
So I haven't said it yet. But I was starting to look up some potential early rankings the other day, just seeing, well, it's probably going to be UConn and USC numbers 1 and 2 in the poll.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I going to vote for? Because both of them got strong arguments. But this team's going to snatch some folks' ball this year. They're that good and more.
Yeah, they are. This is the most talented team she's ever had. There's no question about that. They are really good, and they'll play anybody anywhere. Go take a look at their schedule.
As evidenced by the schedule.
Yeah.
As Dawn said to Brad Muller, the play-by-play man, the other day, it's not about being a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's about being the number 1 seed, and you got to go and play them.
Yeah.
And as he said, well, Coach, this kind of looks like the 2016-17 season. She said, it ends like that one. Okay.
Sign me up right now.
I was there in Springfield, Massachusetts, watching them blow the doors off a really good Louisville team.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other national writers leaned over to me and said, "That's the best team in the country right there." And I'm like, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, I know.
And 3 months later, we're all in Texas, and they're cutting down the nets.
Well, I hope they're doing it again, David, and I hope this weekend, I hope late Saturday night, you got something great to write about up there in the press box on top of Williams-Brice Stadium. And one way or another, we'll always look forward to it. Thank you so much, bud.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go, David Cloninger with the Post and Courier on Twitter at DCPNC. All right, we got to hang a late time out here. We'll wrap up hour 1 when we return on the JB and Goldwater show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Dude ain't been keeping up with any news in South Carolina. He's been in Alaska. He's been in Hawaii. He's been in California. He's been in Wyoming. He's been in Colorado. I sent him a text the other day. I said, hey, you going to come back this side of the Mississippi or, well, what are we doing? We need music.
He's living life, man. He's living large.
I mean, it must be nice to be a big superstar like Patrick Davis.
I mean, just put a ring on the girlfriend's finger, so now you're building these expectations so high that the rest of life you're going to spend trying to back that up. It's a risky game he's playing.
Thank you. I agree. I told him, I said, you need to be underwhelming, my friend. Mm-hmm. Under promise and over deliver. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're doing. You're screwing yourself. All right, 12:51 on Thursday afternoon. I've been a little bit here and there this morning. I've done with the South Carolina side, but have been dabbling in the Kentucky side of the game notes from Steve Fink and from Kentucky's SID that were sent to me on Tuesday that I decided not to open till today for some stupid reason. But I've been trying to look at the kicking game for Kentucky because I really do think that Saturday night this is going to be pretty valuable for both squads. And Kentucky's game notes need some work. I mean, I'm through 20, basically, you go through game notes all the time. You know how it works in college. They have everything, and then you eventually get to the profiles for all the coaches and the players and this, that, and the other. And the stats, the actual stat sheets, not the breakdown by game and all that crap. Give me the stat sheet, the quick hitter. Page 40 and 41. It's like, dude, what are you doing? So anyways, my point is Matt Ruffalo, the field goal kicker for Kentucky, has only attempted 2 this year. He is 1 of 2, and he missed one, I guess it was about a 35-yarder or so, but he nailed one somewhere in the mid-40s, 45, matter of fact. So, I don't know, maybe that'll play to South Carolina's advantage if they have a kicker in a ballpark that's basically sold out, Williams-Brice Stadium, who hadn't done it a whole bunch. We'll have to see. They're getting closer, by the way. I was checking on that just a little while ago, but still a few hundred tickets away from a sellout up there in Columbia. So if you want to go, get them now. It's going to be like if you want to go to a football game. Number one, these tickets are right now affordable, $60, $65 from the school. Go to Ticketmaster and buy them right there, and it's literally going to be 70 degrees at kickoff. Like, what other time could you possibly go to a game where it's not going to be windy, it's not going to be raining, it's not going to be hot, it's going to be 70 and sunny?
Yeah, it's perfect. And the temperature is going to go back up, and the atmosphere is going to be better than Troy. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Wild stuff. All right, Darren, I have done my best to keep up with it. But I don't know what's going on. So what's happened the last couple of days with these college football playoff expansion meetings? I've read 2 or 3 things, and everything I've read, I said, well, I'm going to need to read that again. And I said, F it. I ain't going to do it. I'm just going to ask Darren. So what's going on?
Nothing's going on. But yeah, there's a good explanation for why you read it and like, huh? And read it again. Because I've done that with multiple articles about this. So here's basically what's happening. When we first started to hear about all this momentum and it started to look like a foregone conclusion that there was going to be a 12-team playoff, that expansion was going to happen, all of that happened prior to realignment, prior to Texas and Oklahoma announcing they were going to the SEC.
Right.
Once that domino fell, before other realignment things started happening, before the alliance was born, there were already whispers of, okay, you know what? If this is going to happen, let's pump the brakes here a little bit on expanding the college football playoff. They're not like driven into a brick wall, stopped by any stretch of the imagination. They're just slowing this thing down. And instead of having a vote next week that they were supposed to have with the presidents, because the presidents need to unanimously approve this thing, instead of having that vote, they said, look, we're not ready to go have that vote right now, because at least one is certainly going to say no, and that's G over at West Virginia. And there are probably others that are going to say no to a 12-team model right now as well. Depending on who you ask, certain teams, certain leagues favor a 12 over an 8. Certain teams, certain leagues want automatic qualifiers, some don't. And then there's this thing also going on behind the scenes about, and this is off to the side, is Power 5 going to break away? What will college football's landscape look like come 2025 or come 2026? That's part one. And part two, it should have been part one. It's all about television. It's all about getting back to the negotiating table. What's going to happen, regardless of the number of teams, there will be another media partner involved. ESPN will still dominate it, but somebody else will have at least one of these playoff games, similar to an NFL model. You hear that a lot these days, where Fox is in with CBS and ESPN. There will be multiple media partners. That benefits everybody. That increases the money. Will it get to 8 or 12? I don't know. They'll hash that out. It's going to expand. It's just a matter of when and to which number. That's what's going on.
Okay. All right. I will say I've backtracked on a lot of what I've thought over the last few months. Now that college football season is back in, we're working on week 4 here. I was very much supportive of probably going to 12. I don't think I would support that anymore. I don't know that I would like to see that many. 8 it seems fairly reasonable, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even know that you need to have a stipulation on it. Just put the best 8 teams there and call it a day.
So I'm similar to that, because the group of 5, the teams that have been regularly in the mix, are not going to be group of 5 as we move forward. Cincinnati, Central Florida,
right?
Houston, yep. They're not group of 5 anymore. You don't think of them as group of 5 anymore, because when this takes place, they're not group of 5. We can't be sitting back, and even though the group of 5 commissioners are part of this, you can't be sitting back and saying, well, what about those guys? Because the reality is the gap is so wide, and it's only getting wider, that to do something to be forced into a corner almost for the Power 5 guys to say we have to have some way, like the initial proposal, the 6 best conference champs, well, that would likely have put a group of 5 team in there. Why do that right now? I understand the value of winning a championship, but that can also be factored in without being mandated in order to get in. Just the value of it could bump your stature, record, whatever, according to the playoff committee. So I'm not sold on, look, you got to win a conference championship. I do think it should matter. And I do think that the group of 5 should, probably get pushed to the side in all of this. Power 5's breaking away. It's a matter of when, not if. So if you change these playoffs now, what then? You want to change them again?
Yeah.
Slide them over.
Well, they won't get it figured out by this weekend, so I don't really care.
No, they will not.
We'll talk more. We'll talk more football coming up here in just a little bit. David Shelton going to lead off hour 2, high school football. Actually, I think there's a couple of games tonight that he can mention, and then there's a bunch tomorrow night. There's a bunch of kids going to Williams-Brice Stadium this weekend. I want to ask him about some of those guys who he's seen. Darren, you've seen some as well in calling games on Friday nights. Darren's got a long weekend. We'll hit on that at the top of the hour. As well. And then Scott Glaze is ahead at 1:35. Final preview of the Ryder Cup, which starts tomorrow. Can't wait, certainly. The Motley Rice team fights every day for Americans injured while traveling on plane or bus, or who've been harmed by medical drugs and devices, burdened by auto recalls such as Takata airbags and more. Headquartered right here in the Palmetto State, right here in the Lowcountry on the banks of Charleston Harbor over in Mount Pleasant. MotleyRice.com. If you or anybody you know has been impacted by any of that, MotleyRice.com. Of course, we thank Joe Rice for his support, certainly of our program. I know a lot of Gamecocks out there thank him for what he's done for the University of South Carolina. He's a great, great, great man with a great team that is nationally recognized, nationally known, but they've never forgotten their local roots right here in South Carolina. All right, time for a timeout. Hour 2 coming up right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice and driven, of course, by Stokes Volkswagen. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clemson, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clemson, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. JB and Darren, follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Doeren Goldwater. Send us a note if you'd like to on the Share Healthcare chat lines. If you've got a high school question, pop it in. We know all y'all. Yesterday, y'all were all jibber jabbery for 2 straight hours. Hadn't heard anything from a lot of our friends out there. Send them on the Share Healthcare chat lines. Don't get stuck with big medical bills. More affordable, more options, user-friendly. Just check it out, sharehealthcare.com, where you can save so much money as low as $149 a month to take care of yourself from a healthcare standpoint. Sharehealthcare.com. One of our favorite guests out there, one of the great ones who covers high school sports in this state, that is David Shelton, Mr. Mac and Cheese himself. What's up, brother?
Not Kraft.
No. All right. Hey, Darren, I'm going to ask him the same question I asked you yesterday. Okay. So it's fall and everybody ushers in the pumpkin stuff. David, I found yesterday a pumpkin. Was it pumpkin spiced or pumpkin flavored?
It was all pumpkin flavored. Some were spiced, but it was pumpkin and then.
It was mac and cheese with pumpkin flavor and bacon in it. What do you think about that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I agree.
No. I can't even believe you asked me that question. Now bacon, I'm okay. But oh my God, cheese and pumpkin I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I had the same response to Jamie. He gave me a list of many, many things. A pumpkin this, but take the pumpkin out and everything is going to be much better. All of it.
I mean, I like pumpkin spice. I mean, I like pumpkin pie. I like, during the holidays, I'll get a pumpkin Starbucks, whatever. But I love pumpkin. What is that? Pumpkin cake. Like a
cheesecake.
Starbucks has it. It's like a loaf.
Bread.
Oh.
But
bread.
Yeah. But no way are you putting pumpkin in my macaroni and cheese.
I'll have to snapshot this and send it to you. It is. I just pulled it up. Pumpkin bacon mac and cheese. Yeah, I feel like I would try it to say that I did, just to probably confirm what we all think. But I agree with the both of you. I can't see it, man. I just can't see it. Now my wife.
There's just certain things that don't go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just like Carolina Clemson.
Yeah.
Pumpkin cheese. It just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Nah. My wife makes a killer pumpkin pie cheesecake, which is some kind of special.
Okay, now that's okay. I've had that. That's okay. But we're talking macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
I would probably try it, but my mindset right now is so opposed to it that I probably would say no, I don't like it, even if I did like it.
Yeah. like our kids would all do, right? You ask, do you like this?
Exactly.
No. I hate this. Have you ever tried it? No. Well, I hate this.
Yeah.
Broccoli is the one thing that kids. I admit I did that with broccoli. I didn't eat broccoli. I'll be honest with you. This is a defining moment. I did not eat a piece of broccoli until I was in my 30s.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I absolutely loved it.
It's good, man. That's something our daughter Grayson actually does like. Broccoli. She doesn't like a lot, but broccoli is one.
It's got to be really steamed and really
bingo.
Sometimes I put a little melted cheese on it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
But, yeah, when I first became diabetic and became kind of health conscious, it was one of those things. The doctor's like, you need to eat a lot of vegetables, blah blah, and broccoli's good, blah blah blah. I'm like, I hate broccoli. He goes, oh, I'll just give it a try, and I did, and I was like, what have I been missing all my life?
Yep.
You hit the nail on the head, though, man. It's got to be really steamed, some cheese, salt, and I do salt and pepper, and that's it. You don't need anything else. But some of these restaurants where you're, what's the veggie, or it'll say steamed veggies or so. Oh, what's the veggie? Broccoli. Oh, well, I'll do that. And you come out there and it's like chewing through French, a crunchy French fry or something.
You can't make it oily and greasy. None of that on my vegetables. None of it.
No, and I want it cooked,
but it does have to be soft and.
Yeah.
Because when you just look at it on a plate, it looks like something you pulled out of a lake.
That's true.
You have to have it. It has to, and it doesn't really have any taste. Like broccoli does not have a taste. You have to season it or cover it with something. But it is good. I will say I became. I don't eat it every meal. But I do eat it now.
All right. Before we get to the
none of that has anything to do with high school football. So let's talk.
Okay. Before we get to the slate of games this weekend, David, I do want to. We'll probably start trying to do this a little bit more often, especially for Clemson and Carolina. Tigers are at NC State this weekend, but when they are home, if they have notable in-state players that maybe our audience might be aware of, I might throw some of these names at you just to get a quick comment on some of these players. But this weekend, the Gamecocks are home, and they've got a boatload of talent that will be up there. A lot of kids from out of state, but a ton of kids from in the state of South Carolina. I tweeted out yesterday, actually, a kicker from Somerville, Gage Lewis, is he's going up there. Oceanside Collegiate is sending a bunch of players, David. One of them, the name stuck out to me because I know who his daddy is. I watched him play football for the Gamecocks. It's cornerback Zy Alford. His dad is Willie Alford, who's coaching for Joe Call over there, and he was in the Gamecocks secondary.
He had a 6 last week, by the way, and his dad's the DC.
20 years ago. Yeah, Willie Alford was a great player. How good of a player is this kid? Both of y'all have seen him. I've never seen him. So how good is he?
He's a good player. He's only a sophomore.
Okay.
He's got to grow a little bit, but very athletic, very fast. He obviously has the genes, but he can play receiver, can play corner. But yeah, he's going to be a Division I prospect. I mean, at least G5, but FBS or whatever. But he's a good player. He's one of the better players in the area, especially for a sophomore.
OCA, I can't name everybody that's going to be in Columbia this weekend. You can certainly check those lists, Gamecock Central, the Big Spur, wherever you may be. But from OCA, Ben Britton, Sam Crocker's kicker, punter, Zy Alford, who I mentioned. I believe I'm saying that right.
Mm-hmm.
Monroe Freeling, we've heard a lot about him. How's he been thus far early in the year? Big kid.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good player. I know. I think early in the summer he was. Somebody rated him 247 or one of those, I think, Rivals or whoever, rated him like the number one junior tackle in the country. I don't know about that. I've seen him play. It's clearly one of the better linemen in the state, and clearly a big time. He's going to go to a big time school. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of developing to do, but he has really good feet for a guy his size. He's very agile, and he's just got to get stronger. But he has his moments. I saw him with some pancake blocks, and then I saw him against Myrtle Beach where, he got beat a few times. But heck, everybody gets beat. I mean, the entire Clemson and South Carolina offensive line get beat regularly on a lot of plays.
Yeah.
So, and not to change the subject, but have you ever seen where two schools in state with all of the facilities and all of the coaching and all of the money, and they can recruit anybody they want to recruit, neither one of them has an offensive line worth a poop.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is bad.
Yeah.
But Monroe will make somebody a better offensive line wherever he ends up going, and he's going to have, his options. I mean, he's got offers from all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. He's originally from the West Coast. He's originally from, I think, Oregon or Washington State. I think it was Oregon. I can't remember what he told me, but he's getting offers from out that way too because he lived out that way. It's not something he's opposed to doing. We'll see what happens, but
I thought
he's a good player.
I thought the best thing about Monroe, just seeing him up close last week, the frame is there for when he gets into a college weight room with a college strength program. Like the frame is ready to put on significant amount of muscle, and then let's see where he is.
Yeah, and that's what a prospect is. That's what some people look at what you see now. You see a junior that is 6'6", 285. That's why college recruiting is such an inexact science, because those guys have to project what these guys will be, and they make mistakes. The most mistakes in my mind in recruiting are made on offensive linemen, as we can see, again, referencing the two in-state big programs. That's where the most mistakes are made. guys who don't develop. You know, maybe they get bigger, but they don't get any quicker, or you know, they're not capable of getting better technique wise. But Monroe, when you look at him, I mean, if you project him 3 to 4 years from now, I mean, he's an NFL type looking guy.
Size, yeah.
You know, he's gonna be 6'6", 310, and as you said, it's gonna be college muscle. You know, maturity. I mean, these guys are 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
You have to project where they're going to be when they're 20, 21. And it's hard. I mean, I can't do it. But when you look at him on the hoof, I mean, if you were sitting in a restaurant and he walked in, you'd be like, yeah, that guy's a football player, because he just has that look about him.
You know, this state, David, has long produced, as you well know, you've covered probably 90% of these kids, has long produced exceptional talent on both lines of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line. Clemson and Carolina have had many of their greatest players ever up front that have come from right here in the Palmetto State. And it looks like the next couple of years are fairly promising on both lines of scrimmage again. I know the 2023 class has a bunch of talent that'll be up in Columbia this year. I'm going to just kind of throw out some of these names. If you've seen them, comment on them when you have. But in addition to Monroe Freeling, you got Camden defensive lineman Xavier Mcleod. He's got a bunch of offers, Auburn, Ole Miss, and others included. Sumter's defensive end Monteek Rames. He's a 4-star that plays for the Gamecocks up there. Have you seen either one of them play?
I have seen McLeod at Camden, and he's a stud. he is a stud. I mean, he's got big time defensive lineman college look all over him. Mm-hmm. I have heard of Monteith. Have not. You know, as a matter of fact, when we hang up, I'll probably go to Huddle and look at him. But Sumter has had some really good defensive linemen in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Their best defensive lineman is committed to NC State. He's not even playing because he tore his ACL in the summer. But DJ, I can't remember his last name, but I want to say Park, but that's the guy that went to Carolina from Dillon. But Xavier Mcleod is as advertised. Big, strong, athletic, fast, plays with a little bit of an attitude, which is important if you're going to play on the defensive line. And he will have his pick of where he wants to go to school for sure.
I need to call Curtis Johnson, figure out what the hell's going on over there in Sumter, because last year their best defensive lineman went down to Florida. In 2024, you know, again, we're a couple years out here, but Woodland's got a big boy up front, Cam Pringle, on the offensive line. What do you know about him?
Yeah, really, he's going to be another one. He's another one that right now, as a what is he, 15, 16 years old, has a college body. Like, I mean, he's about 6'6", 290-ish. Wow. Really athletic. You know, can move around pretty good. Probably going to be a left tackle. And you know, he's young and he's got to get better, but he did the summer camp circuit, and everywhere he went, he was getting offered, because, you know, those kind of guys are hard to find. And he's another one like Monroe that, you know, he's strong right now, but I mean, you just have to visualize him with 15, 20 pounds of muscle. And he's got everything. He's got everything that you look for. And he also plays with a little bit of a mean streak. You know, he gets after you pretty good. So that's always good when you're a lineman.
And the last couple I'll mention here, there's going to be, I think there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks that will be in Williams-Brice this weekend. I think there's 5 total, and 4 of them are 4 stars or better. I agree with what J.C. Sherbert, who owns the BigSpur.com, said a couple of weeks ago, Darren, on our show. He thinks it is incredibly unfair to these young men, like the kid, the quarterback from
Jaden Davis,
Fort Mill, being ranked the #1 player in the 2024 class. So unfair. There's so much that can happen in the next 3 years, but he is. And him and Jaden Bradford, the kid from Chapin, I guarantee that kid is an outstanding human. Probably very handsome young man, smells good, probably good grades, can really play, all that stuff with a last name like that. I don't know if you've seen the Bradford kid or the Davis kid from Catawba Ridge, David, but they are 2 4-star quarterbacks that'll be in attendance this weekend at Williams-Brice.
Yeah, they're both good players. Davis has, and I agree with JC. I don't know JC personally, but I agree with that comment that it is really unfair to rank these kids as sophomores and freshmen because, what if they don't become number 1 as a senior? What if they fall to number 4 in the country? It's like, oh, that guy's not as good. He's number 4 in the country, people. But I kind of like Davis a little more than Bradford, but Bradford has some skills. I mean, they're both. Bradford's dad was a really good high school player at Marlboro County. Was a smaller version of his son, but he played quarterback, and I covered him. That's how old I am. So he, but he's got some skills. He moves around really good. Davis moves around really good. They both throw the ball. In the quarterback lingo, they can spin it. They both can do that, and they're going to be, they're going to have their choice of where to go, and have many offers. And a Carolina and a Clemson, Carolina more so right now in the current situation of their program. If they could land one of those two, that would be a huge starting point, for them offensively. But, they're Bradford, I would just guessing, I would guess Bradford may be more of a lean to South Carolina. Not that he said anything.
Yeah.
But the kid at Catawba Ridge is going to have, he's going to have he's going to have a tough decision to make.
Yeah, JC had mentioned before, if Clemson ultimately extends an offer to the Davis kid, it might be really tough to get him away from the Tigers, but there's a long ways to go. It's 2021, and here's the good news: in 2024, we'll probably still be in a pandemic. I do have one question from Craig here. He wanted us to ask you about Antonio Williams up at Irmo. This is his official. Or Dutch Fork out of Irmo, South Carolina. This is his official this weekend to the Gamecocks. He's got everybody's offered him. He's an exceptional player. Clemson though has not offered him just yet, but they might be close from what everybody kind of understands with that situation. But how much have you seen Antonio Williams at Dutch Fork, and what type of player you think he'll be at the next level?
He's going to be a good college receiver. He's got some size to him. He runs pretty well. Got really good hands. I'm not into all that. Can he route run and all that kind of stuff? But
right.
Because obviously when I'm watching games, I'm watching the actual play and writing down the score and stuff like that. But obviously with the offers he has, he's a really good player. And that to me is a guy that South Carolina needs to get. Not so much for what he can do to the program, but when you have a high profile athlete receiver, because they have none except Josh Van, you really need to be able to land one of those type guys that you beat somebody else for, that you beat a lot of contenders for. If Clemson were to come in with an offer at some point and he still went to South Carolina, that's a win. That's a huge win. And some people go, well, Clemson waited and, they didn't really want him. No, let me explain this about recruiting. And specifically Clemson. If Clemson offers a guy, if they extend an official offer, they want that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care when they offer, but when they offer, they want that guy. So whether or not they offer him or not, I don't know. I think he's on their quote board. But I'm sure there are some other receivers on Clemson's board, and maybe they're, waiting to see where they stand with some other guys. But Antonio Williams is a for me, in my mind, he is a must get for South Carolina. He's in state, he's in the city, he's right there in the backyard. He's a really good player with a lot of offers. You get that guy, that kind of means you're making some progress. kind of like when Muschamp got the defensive lineman from Hammond, whose name escapes me right now, the one that scored a touchdown against.
Yeah, Jordan Birch.
Yeah, Jordan Birch. To me, Jordan was a lot of people always thought Jordan was going to go to South Carolina. He was kind of a local, didn't want to leave the area kind of guy. But he still had a lot of options. And, to me, I thought, when you got a guy in your backyard, take for instance, like if Clemson had not gotten Nuke Hopkins, when he's in your backyard, you got to get him. If he, you got to get him. It starts within. Jamie Chadwell told me a long time ago, you recruit in and work out. And if there is a good player in your area or in your state that you have a chance to get, you got to get those guys. And that's how you build. You don't have to get, I'm not one of those that say you got to find 20 in-state guys, because I don't think you can win in the SEC or the big time level with a bunch of players from one state. But the better ones, you got to knock them down. And a receiver particularly, if you're a receiver and you don't have an interest in South Carolina looking at their depth chart, then something is drastically wrong with South Carolina in the recruiting process, because they need guys. Mm-hmm. And Antonio Williams is a guy, in my mind, they need. Whether they'll get him, I don't know. But I think they need to lock that one down.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Obviously, Justin Stepp has been recruiting him for a long time. Justin Stepp is from the whole Stepp family. Everybody knows those guys. They're from up there in
Pelion.
Yeah, Pelion. So, not too far from Irmo, South Carolina. It's about a 10-minute ride up the road, we'll see. But he's on him hard. Clemson, if they offer, they're going to be on him hard, and it'll be tough for the Gamecocks to reel him in, and we'll see what happens. All right, I do want to ask you about a few games before we let you run here in the next 10 minutes or so, David. I Goose Creek and Somerville. Darren, you're going to call that game tomorrow night on television here. So tell us about this one.
No.
I was guessing I'd see you. Sorry about the bad news.
Oh, boy. The old red hat. Oh, good gracious. I want to be the red hat, because I'll never step on the field. They'll be like, hey, get a timeout. No, we're going to keep playing.
We've
had, look at me, I'll be like, keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
We've had that issue every now and then when he's been a little timid and hasn't gotten out there, and whoops, sorry, we welcome you back, and we're 4 plays into the drive.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting game, man. I gotta mention this dude at Goose Creek, Dimitri Simmons, has had the most incredible 3-week stretch of high school football I have ever seen, heard of in this state. He scored like 18 touchdowns in 3 games. He's had 3 games of 6 touchdowns.
Wait.
The other night against Stratford, he had 20-something carries, 300-something yards, had 399 total yards and 6 touchdowns.
What?
The week before that, he was over 200 yards rushing. Week before that, over 200 yards rushing. That guy is running away from everybody right now. And he's a good player. I mean, he was preseason all Lowcountry. He was on my first team last season. But the stretch that he's on right now, I can't remember a running back having that. Now DeCarrion Joyner, went through a stretch when he was at Fort Dorchester throwing, where he was just ungodly, like 5 touchdowns every game, and it was just, he had like 40-something touchdowns. But this dude, as a running back, catching the ball, running the ball, Somerville has got their hands full with this dude. And he's also a really, really good basketball player, a point guard. But Dimitri I named him Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. And then this week, I saw his stats, and I'm like, how do I not name him Player of the Week? But I got to spread the love a little bit. And, I put him in the honor roll, but I didn't name Player of the Week. And sure enough, 5 minutes after it hit the internet, I started getting called. How do you not make this guy the Player of the Week? And I'm like, other players are playing well too, but his 3-game stretch is, I'm looking forward to seeing if he can keep it going against Somerville, which has a pretty good little defense. But he's really having a great year.
8 18 touchdowns. I just pulled up. A bunch of his stuff here. I don't know where I've been the last 3 weeks, but I guess I haven't been paying attention. I've never heard of that. Ever heard of that with a running back. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
And he's had 4. I think he's had 4
wow
receiving touchdowns, 3 or 4, but most of them are rushing. And
it's unbelievable.
You know, I mean, that game last week with Stratford, 69-44. Neither team, you know, brought a defense. It was just like flag football in the backyard. Yeah. And but he had like 21 carries for 330 yards or something. It's incredible.
That was my question about Goose Creek's defense. I started doing some work on them, and the scores, they're putting up numbers, but there's a lot more points on them than I typically see on a Gator defense. Is it because there's
this is not a really good defense right now.
Okay.
But they weren't supposed to be. They only had 1 returning starter.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a piecemeal kind of unit right now, but they're getting a little better. I think what happened last week, and I wasn't there, so I can't be quite sure, but I think what happened you know in those games where you're on defense, but your offense is just scoring every time they have the ball, you tend to kind of there's no pressure on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like playing defense at Dutch Fort. You know, they got 30 points in the first quarter. So you're just kind of like, we're just going to play, and if they get a touchdown, so what? Our offense is going to score again. I think that kind of happened last week. I think Goose Creek's defense is a little better, but they're not good. You know, unfortunately for them, Somerville's offense is not real productive right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's going to help them. But if Somerville rolls up a bunch of touchdowns and numbers, then that is a real true definition that Goose Creek defense is not very good. But Goose Creek's offense is good, and I think they're kind of living with that right now.
Reminder, 7:30 tomorrow night. That game will be televised on MyTV Charleston. Darren Goldwater, Dean Stevens will be on the call, and the sidelines, David Shelton. I'm just kidding. All right.
I'll be in the press box. There's food up there.
That's right. Wherever the food is that I don't have to pay for is where I'm going to be.
Yes.
All right. What else is on the radar this weekend? Is Fort D traveling to Myrtle Beach? Is that still on?
Yeah. They're toughest. I say toughest test. They did play Dorman, but Dorman was down about 15 guys. But Myrtle Beach is only played 2 games because of COVID, but they beat Oceanside and they beat Darlington last week like 168-0 or something. They're really good offensively. Fort Dorchester's really good. It's going to be a good test for both teams. I wish it were down here, especially now that I know where Darren's going to be tomorrow night. Right. But it's going to be on the road. Fort Dorchester's first road game. They need that against a good opponent. You know, Adam Randall, Ryan Berger for Myrtle Beach, quarterback receiver. Going to be a good test. I mean, I think Fort's probably better. Well, I feel confident they're better, but Myrtle Beach is a legitimate 4A state title contender. So I mean, this is not going to be a walkover. I think it's going to be some points. I think both teams will be, you know, probably in the 30s, I would guess.
Hanahan and Porter Gowd, that game still on this weekend as well?
Yeah, that's an interesting matchup. You know, Hanahan, you know, playing a Skeeza school, but Porter Gowd's pretty good. You know, it's going to be a good test. Both teams love to run the football, so it'll be a quick game. Which, by the way, I did the Philip Simmons Hanahan game last week, and both teams love to run the football. And the game was over at 9:30, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, what? You know, I sat in the press box for 20 minutes before I wrote the story because I'm so used to writing it at 10:30. I didn't know what to do, but it was a great, quick game, and it was a really good game. And I think Hanahan Porter Gowd will be another one of those. It'll be a quick night. I mean, if it's not over by 9:30, I'll be surprised.
All right. Well, real quick before we let you run, any news on the COVID front with high school football? Obviously, when the season started, that was a major talking point. But I personally just haven't heard as much lately. What's going on? Have things kind of leveled off? What's going on out there?
Yeah. I don't. You know, I think obviously there are more kids getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I think that's allowing teams that have COVID issues, you know, if you're vaccinated, you can keep playing.
Right.
So I think that's happening a little bit, but there's still some, I mean, it's still out there. Obviously it didn't go away, but I'm with you. I noticed last week that there were, even though there were cancellations, didn't feel like quite as many. And this week, not quite as many. I know Berkeley is canceled, but Berkeley was canceled. This game with Sumter was canceled several weeks ago because that region that Sumter's in decided to play their region games now. So Berkeley just couldn't find an opponent, which is a sign that most teams are getting to play because nobody's available to play Berkeley.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't help Berkeley much, but I kind of, that's why, you know, I thought the Shrine Bowl decision last week to cancel the Shrine Bowl was a little bit premature, a little bit quick. You know, I mean, I know logistically there were some issues, but I mean, it was mid-September and the game's in late December or mid-December. So I think waiting another month might have benefited them, but they did what they did. And you know, I mean, I talked to Jerry Brown this week and wrote about it. He's the head coach and he didn't have a problem with it. He was actually concerned about having the game. He told me that he told the Shrine Bowl committee people that he wasn't real sure about it because of the issues that Berkeley has had with COVID. Now the North-South game, they're going full steam ahead, and now they're going to get to pick some of those Shrine Bowl guys. It's going to make the North-South game a really good football game. It's usually really good anyway, but I mean, now you're talking about the best of the best can play in that game. So I thought the Shrine Bowl thing, I thought the COVID numbers are, at least in the schools, you're just not seeing as many cancellations, and hearing, like you, I don't hear as much about it anymore. I think it's still out there, and maybe a lot of the stuff is so minor now that teams are just not, you know, canceling games. They're just going ahead and play. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I'm not letting the guard down. I want to see how October seems. You know, as the weather cools down and the real flu, the other flu, the normal flu, whatever. If that starts cropping up, then I just want to see how it reacts.
David, we'll let you run on that note. We really appreciate it, my friend. Great stuff. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope Darren and Dean don't drag you along tomorrow night.
Dude, we don't want a long game either because both of us have to be up at like midnight so that we can
that's
go.
Right.
Yeah.
The bridge dude.
That's right. So a long game does not benefit. In fact, I replied to an email with a whole bunch of people on it that are part of the production. Like, just team no sleep, right? There's a bunch of us on the production tomorrow night, and I don't know what time I'll get home, but I know that I have to be where I have to be at 4:30 in the morning Saturday. So a long game's no good.
4:30. Ooh.
Fun. Good times.
We should play it.
At least you're riding in a car, not running it. Yep. That's all I know.
All true.
I'll be in Columbia. If I wasn't in Columbia, I would wake up Saturday morning and play a drinking game to you pronouncing Kenyan names.
No, you wouldn't. You'd wake up Saturday morning and the race would be over, and then you'd text me and see how I did.
Oh no. Yeah. Not with twin 2.5-year-old girls, baby. They're ready to run that damn race. No.
Well, with twin 2.5-year-old girls, I would be playing drinking games about every day.
That's right. What do I need the
privilege for? Not with them. Let me clarify that, but just with myself.
That's right. David, thank you, man. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay, man. You guys take care.
Yes, there you go. David Shelton with the Post and Courier. Before we hit our final timeout and get Scott Glaze in here for 20 minutes, we will obviously look at the Ryder Cup, which is set to go tomorrow. Our Post-Up Careers weekend college football resume. If you haven't had a chance to peek to the weekend and exactly what is going on out there elsewhere across the country, obviously Kentucky and the Gamecocks and the 9th-ranked Tigers are on the road in Raleigh renewing the old Textile Bowl, which will be played at Carter Finley. But Tennessee is at Florida. Not a lot of folks talking about that game because Tennessee just really hadn't been that good. And Florida last weekend was pretty darn good in their 2-point loss against Bama. LSU, Mississippi State. Obviously, we're going to pick all these games tomorrow. That might be a sneaky good one at noon, certainly. Notre Dame and Wisconsin up there in Chicago at Soldier Field. That is the site of College Game Day this week. Wake Forest and Virginia is tomorrow night. Mike Morgan will have that one on ESPN too. That's an important game for the Wahoos and the Demon Deacons. Wake Forest, one of 2 undefeated teams left in the ACC. Oklahoma's going to hit the road for couch burning land, Morgantown, West Virginia, and upset alert. Baylor, Iowa State. We'll see on the banks of the Bravos. But I don't know if there's a bigger one than what's going to happen in Fayetteville. They're going to be calling hogs all day on Saturday, waiting on the Aggies to walk in. That's a 3:30 kick on CBS. Post up careers resume.
Yep. If you need to further your career, LinkedIn optimization, fix that resume to make it perfect. Follow him on LinkedIn. Follow Post Up Careers. He always puts out regular tips. He's in the NIL game with Gamecocks athletes as well.
Yeah.
Just furthering your career, changing your career, getting ahead in your career. That's why he's got careers in his name. Post Up Careers and Franklin Buchanan. By the way, one note that I didn't realize, and I felt bad that it slipped under my radar, and I don't know how much it's on other people's radar. A win Saturday, and Brian Kelly is the all-time winningest coach in Notre Dame history.
Whoa.
Passing Newt Rockne. He is currently tied with him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I know that.
Right? Wouldn't you just imagine Newt Rockne is like on some island somewhere in terms of wins? They're tied at 105. He is 1 win away.
Never, ever, ever would have thought that. I would have thought Newt and Lou Holtz would be far and away ahead of. But Brian Kelly's been there a long time. I think we're forgetting how many games he's won.
12th year. And his comment about that. I'll just and then we get Glaze. Quote directly, I can tell you exactly where I sit in Notre Dame history. The coach that won more games that hasn't won a national championship.
Yeah.
Everything is judged on winning a national championship. I have no problem with it. I knew it coming in.
Yeah. He's right. Of course, they haven't won one since 1988 either. That was Lou Holtz, the last one to do it at Notre Dame. All right, let's hit our final timeout. Scott Glaze up next. It's the Ryder Cup tomorrow, right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. You won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, 1:44, final 15 minutes on this Thursday afternoon. The JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Scott Glaze out there at Stono Ferry in Hollywood. I'm sure with the beautiful weather, the course will be so full over the next few days, but I know you'll have your eyes on the TV. The Ryder Cup has returned. What's up, Scotty?
What's going on? Yeah, it's it is a Chamber of Commerce type day today.
Mm-hmm.
I was just outside. I've been trying to spend as much time out there as I can. Great to have some humidity going and not a cloud in the sky. So, yeah, going to be a busy weekend, and Ryder Cup gets people really fired up for golf. So I know we're going to have a lot of excited people, and looking forward to it. And we, as always, and we always talk about it, we have tee times. Tee times are available. And we've got for tomorrow and Saturday, at least, golf going on all day, 36 each day, morning foursomes, afternoon four ball, and then Sunday singles. So a lot of great golf to watch, along with some great football. So got to come out and get a taste for yourself before watching the guys on TV.
Do we have the official pairings yet?
Not yet. They're not out yet. I don't know. Later this afternoon, they're going to have the opening ceremonies. And I'm not sure if the pairings – they usually come out before those opening ceremonies. So later this afternoon, very anxious to see what's going to come out, how these guys – the lineups that are going to be put forth, especially from the U.S. squad. The European team, they do such a great job with putting great pairs together. It's actually, I think, what is a really cool theme this year, as has been the last couple Ryder Cups, is the use of analytics. And, I talk about stats a lot. Well, there's some groups on both sides of the pond that are really diving into analytics when it comes to these matches, because we have the team aspect in foursomes and in four ball, and trying to put the best teams together. For instance, in 2018, Francesco Molinari and Tommy Fleetwood played all four team sessions together, and they went 4-0, and they just drubbed everybody. Well, without analytics, that's not really a matchup that you would think that you need to put together. Those two guys, they play very similar style golf. Usually you want to pair somebody who's maybe a bomber with a great ball striker, or great ball striker with a great putter, or something like that. But due to that, those guys came through, won 4 big points for Europe there. And so very interested to see how these guys get paired together. I think that's one of the interesting little tidbits of the Ryder Cup.
Let me ask you this about analytics. Dan Patrick mentioned this morning that I don't know who the analytics source was. It was someone, it wasn't just a person, it was some system or computer or whatever, that had the fact that the U.S., this team, is better in the wind, which will be a factor, than the Europeans, which doesn't logically make sense, but his analytics say that it's true. Have you seen that?
I saw that. I saw it on the Golf Channel, where they talked about strokes gain in the wind, and it ranged it from 0 to 5 miles an hour, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 plus. And I was shocked that the Americans are better, because really that is what has made me uneasy about the Ryder Cup being at a place like Whistling Straits. It is very much a link style golf course, which the majority of the European team playing a lot of golf in Europe sees a lot more of that style golf than we see here in the States. Our guys tend to do well on your traditional Americanized golf course, tree line with dog legs and bunkers, and they can just bomb it out there and wedge it up on the green. So historically, don't do as well on this type of venue, especially also, like you said, with the wind. So I was shocked to see that. If we're diving all into analytics, then that is a good sign for the Americans. I still kind of want to see it. One thing about Whistling Straits is that we've had 2 major championships here, two PGA championships. and an American has not won at Whistling Straits. We had Martin Keimer to emerge. If I think that was maybe 2012, I can't remember the exact year. It might have been earlier, but that was when we had the whole debacle with Dustin Johnson on the 18th hole, grounding his club in the bunker that he thought was a waste area. It's probably DJ's major to win. Martin Keimer won, and then several years ago, Jason Day won the PGA Championship. So we have not seen an American to have the ultimate success at Whistling Straits, but I know that not just those 12 guys, but there are millions of people that are hoping they can find some good success this week, because we have not found it in the Ryder Cup recently.
Scott Glaze, golf pro, Stono Ferry 150 on the JB and Goldwater show. Very proudly presented by Motley Rice here on this Thursday afternoon. Who do you expect to play the best this week for the Americans, and what would that look like from a pairing standpoint, if you had to speculate, I guess?
Well, we've had some pods to go out. That's a big thing that we've seen in the Ryder Cup over the years, probably in the last 10 years, is coming up with these pods, this pod system, and they're in groups of 4, and these guys hang out with each other all week. They eat dinner together. They're kind of assigned to these pods by the team, and we can kind of get a sneak peek into some of the pairings that we'll see on Friday and Saturday. What is interesting is that combined, the U.S. team only has 12 Ryder Cup appearances on the team. There are 6 rookies on this team. So this is the fewest appearances for an American squad combined since 1979. However, this is the strongest field the strongest team that anyone has ever fielded in the Ryder Cup in terms of the official world golf rankings, which started in 1986. We have an average ranking of 8.9, the United States team does, where the European team, their average ranking is just over 30. They only have 1 player in the top 12. We have 8. So on paper, the United States should absolutely dominate. Now, we have seen very lopsided contests the last 2. In 2016 at Hazeltine, the Americans dominated, won the cup back, but then the Americans got throttled in 2018 over in France. So it's becoming harder and harder to win on an away game, so to speak. So it will be tough for the Europeans to win. However, with the strength of the American team, the average ranking, as I said, was 8.9 in the official world golf rankings. There have been 5 times that the U.S. team since 1986 has come in with an average official world golf ranking of 15 or better. So we've had some really strong teams before. Of those 5 times, the U.S. team's only won once. They're 1-4 when fielding such a strong team like that.
Interesting.
It's notable, I think, of the guys that have had experience in the Ryder Cup. There are only 6 of them. Spieth, I think this is his 4th appearance. He's played 3 times. He has a 7-5-2 record in the Ryder Cup. He is 0-3 in singles. He has never won a singles match on a Sunday. I find that interesting. Bryson DeChambeau and Tony Finau, you can say that they have experience in the Ryder Cup, although it's very limited. It was 2018. That was their first Ryder Cups. Tony Finau went 2-1. He partnered well with Brooks Koepka, and I would watch out for that this week. I think those 2 will be paired together. Again, they did have success in France. Bryson DeChambeau went 0-3 in 2018. He was paired with Tiger. Tiger coming off of winning the Tour Championship, almost winning the FedEx Cup. I think we had an exhausted Tiger in 2018 after the run that he had there. Did not play well in France, but very limited Ryder Cup experience for DeChambeau. Justin Thomas, his first Ryder Cup was the last go-around in 2018. Now, however, he played in all 5 sessions, and he went 4-1 and was the backbone for a U.S. team that did not do well in France and really got embarrassed. The elder statesman on the U.S. team is Dustin Johnson. He is making his 5th Ryder Cup appearance. Should be his 6th. If you remember, in 2014, he elected to not play. That was when he was out with back issues and whatnot. So this should be the 6th for DJ, just kind of spanning his career, but this is the 5th for him. He is 7-9 overall. He's very good in singles play, 3-1 in singles play, has not done well in team play. So very interested to see who gets paired with DJ. I've heard rumors and seen in these kind of pod groups that it could be him and Colin Morikawa, which I think would be a great foursome pairing. When we play
he's healthy, right? Morikawa's good. He's totally healthy and ready to go.
He should be, as far as I know. He did not have a good FedEx Cup by any means, but he's the best ball striker on tour right now, probably just edging out Justin Thomas. And he put together one of the best statistical ball striking seasons in the history of the PGA Tour, other than Tiger Woods. I think that would be a great pairing in foursomes when we play alternate shot. You have Dustin Johnson, who's been one of the best drivers of the golf ball for a decade, going alongside the best iron player that we have in the game right now. I think those two will play together. Like I said, I think Brooks Koepka and Tony Finau will make a good partnership. And I think we will see, due to their friendship, their camaraderie, their history, I think we'll see Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth playing together. They paired together and did well in France. I think that Justin Thomas is going to kind of take the torch as Captain America, so to speak. I think it will be much, much more likable than Patrick Reed, but I think he's going to kind of be your fiery guy, get the crowd going. If you remember in 2018, he went out first in Sunday singles. That is a big that's huge recognition. That's a lot of respect that his team and his captains have for him to send him out first to try to get that first point, which he did for the United States, although it went downhill from there. So I think he'll be a big catalyst for this team. I guess the last thing in terms of pairings, people that you might pair together, we do have 6 rookies, 6 guys making their debut. However, 3 of these guys have President's Cup experience. Daniel Berger played on the victorious 2017 President's Cup for the United States, which throttled the international team up at Liberty National. And then in 2019, Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele were both on the victorious President's Cup team, captained by Tiger down in Australia. What I find very interesting is that Xander and Patrick Cantlay played all 4 team sessions together. They were partners. They won both of their foursome matches, so both of their alternate shot matches, and lost both of their 4-ball matches. So that is best ball. So I think you might see those guys together when it comes to foursomes, maybe not playing in every session, but clearly they have success playing alternate shot together. But I would not, unless they're extremely hot and have a lot of confidence, I don't see them being put together in a 4-ball scenario. And then after that, it's kind of anything goes. I think the last big question would be, who do you put with Bryson? Who in the world do you pair with Bryson? So I think if you put him out there, I think you have to play Bryson in a 4-ball. You have to play him in best ball, where he can go play his own ball. He can be aggressive. He can go for greens. He can, get the crowd amped up. I think it'd be very, very tough to play with Bryson in a foursome, an alternate shot. So if I was Steve Stricker, I would not put him out on Friday morning or Saturday morning, but I could very well see him on Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon with the likes of maybe a Harris English or a Scotty Scheffler, somebody who's very steady, somebody kind of below the radar, let Bryson kind of take the stage and ham it up, and they just go out there and play solid golf. So I am just rambling all sorts of stuff about the Ryder Cup. So I'm clearly pretty excited about it.
So you can watch the opening ceremonies on the Golf Channel starting at 5:00 today, and then coverage all day tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the Golf Channel, Eastern times. And then Saturday, 8 to 9 a.m. on the Golf Channel, 9 a.m. to 7 on NBC. So all day on NBC, they're going to be airing the Ryder Cup, and then 12 to 6 to wrap it up on Sunday. So what? And we only have, I guess, a couple of minutes left here, Scotty. But what's important early, especially for the Americans tomorrow? What are you going to be watching and keying on as to maybe how the rest of the weekend might unfold?
The first session is extremely important. It's foursomes, which historically the United States has not been great in foursomes. Like I said, that's alternate shot. I think foursomes are the key to the Ryder Cup. In the last 3 events, Europe won 6 points. They netted 6 points in 2014 in foursomes. The USA in 2016 actually netted 3 points. And then in 2018, Europe clipped us by 4 points in foursomes. So that's huge. Got to come out and play, not get behind in this alternate shot format. Going to have to play 2 sessions with 4 points on the board each time. Got to come out strong. Also, in the first session, the home squad, so to speak, has had the lead 6 times in the history of the Ryder Cup after the first session. Every single time they've gone on to win. So if you're playing at home, you have the lead after that first session. History is in your favor that you're going to go on to win. So, get up early, watch these guys at 8 o'clock. That first tee is going to be rocketed. The spotted cow is going to be flowing. Anybody who's been up to Wisconsin knows about spotted cow, but got to play well in that first session, get off on the right foot, and especially for an American Ryder Cup contingent and just as fans of the Ryder Cup and this American squad, it kind of feels teetering of what's going to happen in the future of this event. So if these guys don't come out and win this week, we might see major changes in the Ryder Cup and in terms of a selection process, who knows? So American golf fans are very anxious to see what happens. So got to get started out very strongly on Friday.
Tell them what happens. Who wins the Ryder Cup? Your final prediction of the year, I guess. Now we have other tournaments coming up. But,
I can't. I'm not going to be a Benedict Arnold. I'm not going to pick the European squad. Of course, I'm picking the American squad. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Yeah, I brought my flag too.
There you go.
Wave that around. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be close, and I think that's what we need in the Ryder Cup and for the game of golf right now. I think if we can invigorate the game with a really close Ryder Cup, we have not had one since 2012 when the Europeans came back and had a monumental Sunday to clip the Americans 14.5, 13.5.
Yeah.
It's been a blowout either way every year since. So I think it's going to be very close, and I think it's going to come down to the last matches on Sunday, and I think the red, white, and blue gets it done.
Nice.
Go USA. I need to talk to Raphael, see if he has any prop bets up, if Bryson and Brooksy will hug or stuff like that. Like, will they high five each other? Will they kiss? I don't know. Those type of things.
No.
No on the last.
No on the last.
Yeah.
Don't need to see that. All right, there are tee times available. This is probably, I'm venturing a guess here, but I'll bet I'm right, probably since April, the most beautiful, refreshing weekend to play golf. So do it. StonoFerryGolf.com to book those tee times and get out there and get you one big fat hot dog. And they'll of course have the Ryder Cup on TV. I'll bet you can even check in on some football. The bars popping. They got great bourbon there. It's just a neat place, and it's so beautiful on the banks of the Stono River. And you get to see Scott Glaze, the golf pro at Stono Ferry. Have a wonderful weekend. Great report. Final report, everybody. You've built it up for 3 weeks. So if anybody is not ready for the Ryder Cup, then you just, I don't know what to tell you. Have another, pal. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Go USA. We'll see you next week.
There you go. Scott Glaze on Twitter at Scott Glaze. We are out of time because we're in overtime. Tomorrow, the big Gamecock preview show at 1 o'clock. Certainly looking forward to that. Rafael Esparza at 12:30. We'll make our picks. That's how Fridays go around here. For anybody that might be watching or listening to this program that hasn't done before, you ain't seen nothing yet, is what they say. Scott Glaze, David Shelton, David Cloninger, thanks to all of them. Thanks to Doeren Goldwater and to all of you. We hope you have a just gorgeous and thirsty Thursday afternoon. Stop into the Dog and Duck and sit outside with a cold beverage.
New TVs at the Bell Hall location, and some TVs might be going up outside with a covered patio too. Ooh. Big things.
Maybe even a fire pit. Who knows?
Yeah.
If they'll have enough time. For Darren, I'm Jamie. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen and presented by Motley Rice.